Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be giving you my Gemini December 2017 horoscope forecast. And yes, this does apply and pertain to the Sun, Moon, and Ascendant. Well, anyway, people, first thing is, as far as December goes, the Sun will be in Sagittarius from the 1st until the 21st. And, of course, the 7th house is what is emphasized and highlighted for Gemini. So, at this time, there could be very strong focus and concentration of energy put into relationships. It could be dealing with open adversaries, legal situations, and could be done with a lot of this Sagittarius, like optimism, expansiveness, this exuberance. It also could be competitions as well, and being in Sagittarius, sometimes it could be sports competitions. So anyway, as far as December goes, the Sun will be in Capricorn from the 21st till the 31st, so the 8th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted for Gemini. So at this time, Gemini may put a lot of this concentration of energy, that strong focus into matters perhaps connected with transformation. It could be even insurance, matters connected with an intimate relationship, somebody in a sexual relationship with, in doing so with a lot of that Capricorn-like seriousness. And it could be show also a strong concentration of energy of being really very structured and disciplined in 8th house matters. It could be astrology, for example. Just as an example for that, in their sex life, this is about really about also perhaps shining in 8th house matters, but doing so perhaps with a lot of Capricorn premeditation and looking before you leap, so to speak. So anyway. The full moon will be in Gemini on December 3rd. So the 1st house is what will be emphasized and highlighted for Gemini. So at this time for Gemini, this could be about perhaps maybe Gemini becoming full, so to speak, of maybe spreading oneself a little bit too thin, dissipating oneself through lack of a concentrated purpose, having to be overly versatile, trying to do this, trying to do that, may take wear and tear on the physical body. And this would really actually be more true, I'd say, if it's Gemini Ascendant, if it's in the actual 1st house in one's actual natal chart, because the 1st house, of course, is connected with the physical body. This could be a very strong outpouring of Gemini-like emotions at this time that people can see very readily. And Gemini, of course, is about being versatile with the emotions and being very and expressing manifold emotions. I'm going to have this actually happen to me. It's going to happen. I have Gemini moon. It's going to conjunct, almost exactly make a conjunction to my natal Gemini moon. So you're talking about emotions maybe going haywire and expressing a very strong, powerful, manifold amount of emotions that are very manifold, or I should say manifold emotions, and ones that are very powerful at that time for me, perhaps. So anyway, the next thing I want to talk about is that the new moon will be in Sagittarius on December 18th, and the 7th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted for Gemini. So for Gemini at this time, it could be Gemini embarking on some, it could be if unattached, a new relationship, perhaps of trying to find a new significant other. It could be with a lot of this Sagittarius like optimism, this exuberance, the enthusiasm and expansiveness, being very positive in this. It could be some kind of new athletic competition, or it could be something connected with sports. Maybe even in some cases, the new moon, the 7th house is about legalities and legal matters. It could be taking on a new legal situation in some cases for Gemini, but doing so in a very positive Sagittarius and upbeat-like manner. So anyway, The another thing is that Mercury will be in Sagittarius during December, and the 7th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted for Gemini. So at this time, there can be a lot of communication with the significant other, more so than usual. It could be also maybe communication just with others in general. A lot of really, and maybe it could be also a lot of like blunt, outspoken, and very forthright communications with them, and very speaking that Sagittarius veritable truth, so to speak. But Mercury will be in retrograde motion in December from the 3rd till the 22nd. So it could be a review of some philosophical discussions, perhaps with a significant other, if applicable, with others in general. It could be over legal matters. It could be just in general with other people. And it could be matters pertaining to open adversaries. And when you have this Mercury in retro, it's a lot of mental review over these things. It might not be as much actual speaking aloud about it, but a lot of thinking more than actually talking, and maybe going back to certain matters so that are Sagittarius related. It could be, philosophical discussions, religious discussions with others that might have been not complete at some point, but are trying to go back and complete it now. So anyway, well, Venus, as far as December goes, Venus will be in Sagittarius from the 1st until the 25th. So again, the 7th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted for Gemini. So at this time for Gemini, well, there can be a lot of perhaps enjoyment in Sagittarius, like things expressed with others. It could be sports, perhaps religion, perhaps things of a philosophical nature, learning, expanding the mind, learning things that maybe it could even be things connected with a college or university. Also in perhaps being jocular, joking with a significant other. It could be also, keep in mind that, the 7th house is also about legality. Sagittarius is the sign. This is really very, of all the signs, the most fortuitous, being ruled by Jupiter. So it could be somebody coming into money connected with a legal situation at this time. Given that Venus is about money, 7th house is connected with legalities, and Sagittarius is the lucky fortuitous sign. So that could be a possibility. And it could be too that if unattached, this could be a good influence perhaps for getting that significant other and finding that person with a lot of that love, that strong love that is connected with having that significant other. So, and Sagittarius, of course, is a sign that doesn't do anything on a small scale. So anyway, well, the next thing is Venus will be in Capricorn from the 25th until the 31st as far as December goes, and the 8th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted for Gemini. So at this time for Gemini, perhaps this could be, I would say, perhaps some enjoyment in responsibility toward making a major change, toward making a transformation in one's life. In some cases, this could be money connected with a business where shared resources, of course, are involved, where money might be coming in, or money could always be coming in regardless of where Venus is in relation to one's house. Don't get me wrong, money could be coming into something connected with a shared business, shared resources, but it could be a little bit more fortuitous and a little bit more money perhaps than generally speaking, given that we're talking about Venus is the planet associated with money. So anyway, another thing that we'll talk about now is that Mars will still be will be in Libra. Well, actually, Mars will be in Libra as far as December goes, from the 1st until the 9th, and the 5th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted for Gemini. So at this time, Gemini might experience some contentious and acrimonious situations, perhaps with a romantic partner, if applicable, with somebody they're in a love relationship with. It could be with children as well. But given that this is, we're talking about Libra, so there could be a lot of passive aggressive energy where there's not as much open combat or confrontation, but really people just maybe not agreeing with something you're saying by changing the subject or walking away or not being compliant with what you're requesting, things of that nature. There could also be a lot of energy perhaps put into things of an artistic nature that have a creative type side to them. So those are some things to look at as far as that goes. Now Mars will be in Scorpio as far as December goes from the 9th until the 31st, and the 6th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted for Gemini. So at this time for Gemini, well, this could be a time where there can be some contentious, acrimonious situations with people in their place of employment. It could be matters connected with jealousy or being angry over maybe somebody you feel might be manipulative. This could be really a lot of passionate and intense anger expressed at this time, and a lot of this anger can sometimes be connected with some kind of vindictiveness, and because we're talking about jealousy and usually a lot of times revenge, and that can go hand in hand. So I'd be very careful at this time, Gemini. It could also be a lot of energy put into health matters, perhaps making a major change or transformation in one's health life. And it could also be putting this energy into doing something as far as work related that might be Scorpio, like such as astrology, the occult, supernatural, magic, alchemy, forensics, things where you're digging deep and getting to the bottom of things of an investigative nature. And also be careful too, Gemini, there could be more of a propensity for accidents at work during this time than usual, because we're talking about Mars and the 6th house energy. Anyway, well, Jupiter will, of course, still be in Scorpio, so the 6th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted for Gemini. So at this time for Gemini, well, Gemini, might experience, an increased, perhaps surreptitious activity with maybe fellow employees. There might be more sneakiness or people going behind one's back. There might be, you look at this too, it could also, Jupiter, as I've stated in previous videos, can be very paradoxical. It is the lucky, fortunate planet. It's very fortuitous, but it can also expand and enlarge. And this could expand and enlarge perhaps Scorpio-like health issues, such as problems with the pelvic or the groin area for somebody, and especially if we're talking about in conjunct from the actual 6th house to Gemini rising to the Ascendant. So those are some things to look at as far as that goes. But this could be very positive in matters and auspicious in matters connected with the work and the health as well. And also, it could be positive for making major change and transformation, maybe connected with work, but in your daily routine as well, Gemini. And also for Scorpio-like subjects associated with work. So those are some things to look at. And also look through Scorpio-like things in putting into your daily routine in your work life, such as resiliency, such as having a very strong, a strong ability to cope with adversity, and also having that inner fortitude. So anyway, well, Saturn will be in Sagittarius as far as December goes from the 1st until the 20th. So the 7th house, again, is what is going to be emphasized and highlighted for Gemini. So at this time for Gemini, well, one side of Gemini is connected with the significant other. This could be, in some cases, dealing with maybe a partner that may have some debilitation that might be Sagittarius, like such as something with the thighs or the hips or the hamstrings, for example. And even it could just be somebody that a strong, significant friendship in a person's life as well, but an important relationship that may not necessarily be the significant other. And also, there can be more responsibilities in legal matters and having to speak that veritable and veracious Sagittarius-like truth at this time. So really, and also could be a lot of controlled optimism in legal matters at this time in dealing with open adversaries. So those are some things to look at as far as that goes. Saturn will be in Capricorn as far as December goes from the 20th until the 31st. So the 8th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted for Gemini. So at this time for Gemini, well, this could be about a lot of, you could say a lot of laborious work, making sure one follows the rules and regulations. Maybe in an 8th house matter, it could be we're dealing with taxes. It could be astrology, something connected with the supernatural, the occult, matters with insurance. And it could also be about having a very strong responsibility in general in these matters as well, being working very hard, we're being very industrious. But keep in mind too, you look at the Capricorn, Saturn being in Capricorn, and you're talking about the government, and Saturn Capricorn, you think of like government, perhaps restrictions. There could be something connected maybe in this matter which might play a role where maybe somehow it affects something in the 8th house, such as some kind of maybe a tax situation or something for Gemini. Maybe Gemini felt they were going to get a tax break on something later on, and they're finding out at this point that maybe they're not actually going to, due to something maybe by the government that maybe feels that makes them feel maybe restricted in getting that tax break, as an example. So anyway, well, the next thing is, well, Uranus will be in Aries still, of course, and the 11th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted for Gemini. So at this time for Gemini might experience a lot of unpredictability in matters connected with friends and acquaintances at this time. There could be friends and acquaintances might be expressing a more ingenious and innovative quality and very pioneering. This could also be a time where Gemini might experience a very strong inventive side with a lot of this pioneering Aries energy, so to speak. And it's tied in with their aspirations and goals. Perhaps Gemini, there might be a number of Geminis that might be aspiring to be innovators at this time, and it's more connected with their aspirations and their goals. So anyway, another thing is, okay, Neptune is going to still be in Pisces, of course, and the 10th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted for Gemini. So at this time for Gemini, well, Gemini might experience some confusion, perhaps in matters connected with their career. Maybe with somehow it's tied in to their public image. Maybe what could be happening too in some cases, and in some isolated cases for Gemini. Keep in mind that Neptune is about drugs and about alcohol, so it could be somebody that might maybe an authority figure that might be having some drug or alcohol issue. It could be the dominant parent, which is often the father, and it matters connected with authority figures, and the dominant parent might be somewhat unclear and nebulous, and it could also be Gemini's career at this time may be such as well. But at the same time, Gemini may also be looking at something Neptune/Pisces-like as a possible career endeavor, or doing something in connection with that, such as photography, chemistry, the metaphysical, which could include astrology, something of a spiritual nature. It could be maybe working with, I would say, even the paranormal could be another possibility, helping others, doing something where they're showing a lot of that Pisces, Neptune-like compassion or even imagination in their career endeavors. So anyway, well, Pluto will still be in Capricorn, of course, and the 8th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted for Gemini. So at this time, well, this could be about Gemini maybe showing more power, trying to show more power and control, perhaps in one's sexual life. In some cases, this could be about maybe one making a major transformation, perhaps through an 8th house subject, perhaps matters connected with psychology, could be getting more of a psychological understanding of oneself. It could be through the astrology, the occult, supernatural. This could also be, when you're talking Pluto and 8th house energy, this could also be about experiencing perhaps some upheavals, some crisis, matters connected maybe with taxes, maybe with an intimate, somebody you're having an intimate relationship with, a sexual partner. It could even be over maybe something else that could be 8th house related. It could be something with taxes or dealing something with insurance, something of that nature. I mean, such as dealing with insurance fraud. I mean, that could be, if you're dealing with it on your end, of course, that could cause perhaps some kind of crisis to you. So anyway, well, the next thing is, okay, the North Node will still be in Leo at this time, so the 3rd house is what will be emphasized and highlighted for Gemini. So at this time, this could be about putting that focus, that direction, in going toward showing pride and dignity in communications with one's neighbor, showing generosity, perhaps toward siblings if applicable, toward neighbors. It could be about maybe being a little bit more extravagant on matters connected with transportation, such as spending a little bit more money on one's vehicle, getting a new vehicle, perhaps if one you have is actually everything but out of commission or is deteriorating, falling apart, or etc. So those are some things to look at as far as that goes. And this can also be about getting perhaps attention and recognition, notoriety for things connected with communication, such as writing or journalism, making a blog. So anyway, well, the Black Moon Lilith will be in Capricorn, so the 8th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted for Gemini. So at this time for Gemini, well, this could be perhaps in some cases an unveiling of maybe a ruthless or tyrannical quality, even connected with one's perhaps could be a sexual partner, somebody that they're having an intimate relationship with. Could it be somebody that may have passed away during this time, that they found out about it after the person passed away? I mean, the 8th house is the house of death. I know a lot of people don't want to hear the dreaded D word, but I think it does have to be talked about because it is associated with the 8th house. Now, this could also be perhaps maybe a depressing situation connected with one's sexual life might come out. This could also be, I mean, keep in mind the Black Moon Lilith could also show a formidable adversary that could be a Capricorn Sun, Moon, or Ascendant, or simply somebody that embodies Capricorn-like characteristics. It could be somebody that might be a sexual partner, somebody that they're in an intimate relationship with. It could be somebody that they're maybe we're dealing with insurance with. It could be a person that was helping them with taxes. It's something like that. And really, this is another thing I want to talk about now. Last but not least, we're going to get to Chiron and Pisces. And the 10th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted for Gemini. So at this time for Gemini, well, this could be a time where Gemini might experience some emotional wounds and suffering, perhaps connected maybe with a deceptive dominant parent, which is often the father, or some deception in their career. It could be some kind of issue which maybe some lies were told that might affect their reputation. This could also be about maybe matters connected with gullibility in one's career, and in being perhaps being promised more than what was offered, for example, and feeling really like basically like a sap because of it. Unfortunately, and also in some isolated cases, this could show that perhaps there could be some wounds or suffering connected with drugs and alcohol that might affect one's reputation and public image. But keep in mind that Chiron is also about healing, and this could be a time for Gemini to strongly heal and help others, dealing with matters connected to perhaps their own career, their public image, and their reputation, and improving their stature in life with a lot of that Pisces-like compassion and empathy. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for my Gemini December 2017 horoscope forecast. Stay tuned next time, where I'll be talking about my Cancer December 2017 horoscope forecast. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.